So the new Supreme Command detachment has been unveiled, and it's completely different to its previous incarnation. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy-focused 40k channel, where we've been covering the rules developments and changes to 9th edition as they've been coming out. Today, in a faction preview for the Thousand Suns of all things, Games Workshop have shown us the new Supreme Command detachment, and it's a bit ironic in a way, because while it does work for the Thousand Suns due to them having Magnus, it also really helps to fight one of their main competitive detachments, which was taking Aramin and a few Demon Princes in a Supreme Command detachment. Rather than allowing you to field 3 to 5 HQ choices, the Supreme Command detachment under normal circumstances will just be a single powerful model and has to be your warlord. So let's take a look. So unlike the other detachments, the Supreme Command detachment will cost 0 command points to include in your army, though it looks like you're only going to be able to include it in a few niche circumstances. Rather than being limited to the battlefield role, you're now only allowed to include one Primarch, Demon Primarch, or Supreme Commander unit in the detachment, and this unit must be selected as your warlord. As the rules stand, that's only 3 models in the game at the moment, Guilliman, Magnus and Mortarion. Although this new Supreme Commander tag is a new one, no one has that at the moment, and I think it's pretty likely that Games Workshop will hand that out to a few key characters in the FAQs when 9th drops. Essentially, the Supreme Command detachment is dead as we know it, from a way of providing HQ character spam, or including a single Lord of War alongside some HQ choices as a way of giving that Lord of War chapter traits, regiment traits, or legion traits or something. It honestly is going to make a fairly big difference to army construction. In terms of command benefits for the Supreme Command detachment, they're basically trying to make it so if you make this choice your warlord, you aren't penalised for command points, which I think does make complete sense, as these powerful characters in general would be expected to be your warlord in the army. In normal circumstances in 9th, you get the command points refunded for one of your core detachments, whether it's a brigade, battalion or patrol, and you have your warlord present in that detachment. The rules for the Supreme Command means that you get some command points refunded if you either have a brigade, battalion or patrol in it, getting +4 for a brigade, +3 for a battalion, or +2 for a patrol. This means that say if you had a Space Marine battalion as the core of your list, if you chose the warlord from the battalion, then you get 12 command points as standard. And this rule basically means that if you take Guilliman in a Supreme Command detachment and you make him your warlord, then you'll be starting on 12 command points as per normal. You won't lose out because you haven't nominated a warlord from the battalion. It all makes quite a lot of sense. As an aside, obviously you'll get a few more command points because of Guilliman's warlord trait, so say if you built an Ultramarines list around a Ultramarines battalion and Guilliman in a Supreme Command, you'd be starting on 15 command points normally. It's also worth noting that this command benefits thing actually spoils the points cost for the brigade. I think that we now know that brigade detachments will cost you 4 command points if you want to include them in your army and you don't draw your warlord from them. Basically, I think that brigade detachments will only ever be taken in an army if they are your main detachment, and you're getting that hefty price refunded. It's not impossible that they might have changed the brigade's formation in some way though. So as we said, it's Guilliman, Magnus and Mortarion at the moment, and I like the way that the rule is future-proofed for Primarchs and Demon Primarchs, just in case Games Workshop happens to release any of those in the future. They dropped some hefty hints in their live stream about important characters coming back around Christmas. I would honestly be on the lookout for Primarch-type releases around then, if at all this year. What intrigues me even more though potentially are these Supreme Commander keywords. I think that they will be given out in the FAQs at the start of 9th, or if not then just included in the codexes as they roll out. I think that Ghazghkull and Shadowsun are quite good options for including this on. Both of them have already had recently updated rules, and they basically allow them to function in any detachment of that race, because they very much are the leaders of 2 of the factions in the game. When we find out the rules for the Silent King for the Necrons, I suspect he'll have this as well. Maybe just possibly the 8 that Farsight can run alongside. I think that's a possibility, but not quite as likely. Let's say Abaddon is almost certainly, and other characters might get it too, maybe Eldrad for the Eldar, or perhaps Marneus Calgar for the Ultramarines, or the other chapter heads such as Azrael or Dante for example. In general, I do think that this detachment is going to work as intended a lot more than the Supreme Command in the last one. It really wouldn't make sense to be paying 3 command points to be taking one of these powerful characters along in their own individual detachment, and I honestly think that the Supreme Command was pretty poorly thought out in 8th. For some reason it's a whole bunch of commanders, yet they only give you 1 command point. It just had me scratching my head a bit when it came out. So how will this new detachment rule impact on the game? I think a big impact will be the removal of the previous version of the Supreme Command for this completely different one, though it isn't 100% impossible that we might not get something else to take its place. I would guess probably not though. If it truly is gone, then it's going to be a bad impact for things like Thousand Suns with their Demon Prince spam, or Blood Angels with their multiple powerful characters that you might not really want to fill out another battalion for, although those assault intercessors might change things a bit. This is another slight nerf for Lords of War however though, as it removes you one viable way of fielding them. Now if you want things like chapter traits or regimental traits for Imperial Guard or Space Marine Lords of War, you are going to have to field 3 of the things, as they don't typically get this in a single super heavy auxiliary detachment. Being able to run them alongside a few cheap HQs was a relatively painless way of being able to get one of these powerful buffs on them. It's particularly not so great for the Guard, who could fill the rest of that Supreme Command detachment with dirt cheap HQs. In terms of the new detachment's impact on the game, at least until we get the new Supreme Commander tags in the armies, then it's not going to be usable for the vast majority of them, so they won't really have to pay much attention to it. As I said, I do like the way that it will actually incentivise these guys' use as warlords, and basically if they're not your warlord on the table, you'll have to pay 3 command points as a cost, as you have to put these in super heavy auxiliaries rather than in the Supreme Command. So if you are wanting them in your list, then it's a 3 command point incentive to make them your warlord. Depending on how important Slay the Warlord is, this might not be the most helpful for Magnus or Mortarion though, who are kind of liable to getting guns straight off the table. Beyond that, we're just going to have to wait and see who gets Supreme Commander, as that could really emphasise the use of certain characters in the detachments. It'll certainly be easy to include anyone who does have this. On one little side note as well, it is good to know that Guilliman will now be getting his own chapter tactics, where he wouldn't have got them before if he was in a super heavy auxiliary, so I think that's another win from a common sense point of view. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. For better or worse, HQ spam is going to be tied to the amount of troops in your army through battalions and patrols, which might be a positive or negative depending on your perspective. For the units that this affects though, I think this rule is very well written. If you've been enjoying all these 9th edition rules updates, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where we'll certainly have plenty more in addition to our regular tactics and strategy content. And if you've been enjoying the channel recently and would like to help support, I'd just like to mention that I have an Element Games affiliate link, which is down in the video description below. If you live in the UK or Europe, then Element Games is a discount retailer that gives 10 to 20% off Games Workshop's products. If you order anything after clicking the link in the description, then it doesn't cost you any more, but a small amount goes to Auspex Tactics to help support the channel. So if you will think about buying some models anyway in the near future, then it can be a way to help out if you'd like to. I also have a similar Amazon link for the USA and Canada. Basically again, if you click that one before ordering anything, it won't cost you any more money at all, and a little bit goes towards Auspex Tactics, and that works for model soldiers or literally anything else on Amazon. Both of those can just be a way to help support if you were thinking about buying something from there anyway. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.